All right, welcome to a rubber stamp show and tell. We have the Rubberstamp Madness, March, April 1997. Cover price of $5.95. Used to be cheaper to have a subscription, but used to be able to find it on the on your newsstand or at a lot of different rubber stamp stores off the rack. Pretty cool cover here. I just grabbed this at random, but it does have the Seaside Cove large 139H stamp on there. You can see it in the background right there, and they do a pretty cool, I believe it's a brayered and bleached process on there. Probably used a little bit of bleach and some water. Sometimes you can just spray a dye ink brayered background just with water and it'll give you that bleaching effect. But that one's, it's a little bit more pronounced, so I believe there would be some kind of diluted bleach in there. I don't think it would be a straight bleach though, otherwise it would be much whiter than that. And sometimes you don't want that degree of it. But pretty cool cover here. Look at this. It's like the tattooed lady, and it says, "I used to be naked until I found rubber," you know. And then it kind of just repeats it all around the perimeter like that, the border. But pretty cool and dramatic cover there. Anyways, if you haven't seen these before, I just kind of do a flip through. I have not looked through this probably since it came out. I used to just kind of flip through them. I was super busy at the time, and I don't know. I mean, if I did look through there, I don't know. I'd look through it and I'd read the little articles and stuff like that and kind of just move on. But it's really fun going back in and taking a look at these. It's for the articles, kind of, you know, to see what was kind of happening at the time in terms of the new materials that were out and innovations at the time. But especially for me, it's looking at, you know, just things like this, you know, the Cleveland Convention, the different manufacturers that were out at the time. This one here has the Perfect Image Positioner right here by this company right here, which is really just, you know, they copied the Stamp of Barbara positioner like that. But anyways, those were the types of innovations, a couple of acrylic blocks kind of glued together. Very effective at the time. A Traveler's Guide to Rubber Stamp Stores. I don't remember this one right here, but look at this. Over 50 maps, hundreds of stores, $9. Oh, and discount coupons in it. Yeah, I was sure it was David Ward because that looks exactly like the Rubber Stamp source book that I source books that I also did videos on before. But look at this one right here. This one, you know, the pre-internet, you know, and you know, just maps of the probably of the U.S. Looks like they even used Duck's information up there from Stampscapes on the cover there. But you can. That's what people used to do when they used to go on vacation somewhere. They would look up the different stamp stores in a given area, and they would usually hit all of them. It's like anyone that's kind of into collecting things. You know, I used to be a comic book collector when I was a kid, so anytime we were in the vicinity of a comic book store, I'd always ask if my mom could take me there, and that was the same thing for rubber stamp stores. People would travel to conventions, and they would usually hit all the stores in those given areas like that. So, look at this right here. Acid-free and 30,000 years of pigment ink research, you know, Colorbox. Most avid stampers already know these facts, okay? Colorbox, ClearSnap went out of business, what was it, about 2 years ago? Or a year? I don't even know if it's been 2 years yet, but what a great company and a lot of innovation and things like that. And just some really great products that they put out back in the day. Table of contents here. We won't look at that. I'm just going to flip through this whole thing. These little show and tells end up being a little bit longer than I would kind of anticipate as I kind of get caught on some of these things. But, you know, Judykins, who is this? Carmen's Veranda. You might recognize a lot of these different companies. Some of them I don't really remember, you know, but you know, like Cat Dancing Design, really cool things. The Stamp Source. Oh, the Stamp Source. See, this is San Luis Obispo, and that always kind of surprised me because That was right, that was real close to where I grew up in Lompoc, California, so it was always cool to know that there was a store in, San Luis. That was about an hour north of me, so not super close, but when we talk about that whole general vicinity, Santa Barbara was an hour south. That was the biggest store that's ever been, in terms of the number of stamp lines carried in the store. It was just practically all just stamps, as opposed to accessories like papers and ink pads and things like that. Because, like I said, this predates a lot of those types of accessory type things. Stamp Indus here, big ad by Penny Black here. Scrapbooks and photo memory albums. Kind of early on, fairly early on in scrapbooking. Hampton Art, you might remember. Look at this one right here. True Nature Rubber Stamps. Real flowers and insects embedded in clear acrylic mounts. So that's a scorpion, so I'm sure there was a scorpion piece of rubber on the other side of that mount. I had a dandelion, I guess. There's something like that. And flower. Here's a chili pepper right here. I don't know. Do any of you have any of that? Oh, that's right, in Irwindale, California. That was real close to Whittier, where I lived for a while, but right in Los Angeles. But if anyone has any one of these, write it in the comments section. I'd be curious. I've never seen these before, and I don't recall ever seeing this. I probably saw it, when I looked through this back in '97. I don't know if they advertised in more of those, and I never saw any of these in any stores either. But I don't know. Those are pretty interesting right there. I have no idea how much something like that must have cost. If you have real things embedded in those acrylic mounts like that. But can you imagine that? Pretty crazy. Stuart Superior made a lot of the, or they were the supplier for a lot of the raw materials for making stamps, like wood blocks, and then they started getting into pad production. So a lot of the pads that you see out there that are branded by other companies, they're manufactured still by Stuart Superior. Okay, you just put a different label on there. You tell them what you want, what colors you want, and they'll kind of put that together for you. So I ordered my wood from Stuart Superior early on, but boy, you just never knew when to expect it. And they would tell you it's going to come in. I just never knew, so I kind of migrated that. Mirror Image, love that guy's stuff. I was just on his website the other day checking to see if he had any new animations. He was a real artist and does all kinds of mini kind of animation projects, and I really like that his style there. Stephen Meir. Let's see here. All kinds of Rubber Poet. I used to like their stuff a lot. Biz Art. Yeah, a lot of these are coming back to me. A lot of these companies I just didn't know. These ones right here, you can have your name custom made on this, like handmade, especially for you by Kathy. You know what I mean? So they can put any one of your names, your full name on it. And I guess they would probably gang produce these. They, put them all on a plate together and then make those up. But it's really cool here, just custom stamps, which you can still do these days. Sometimes people contact me to see if I can make their stamps, and I just say, hey, just for a one-off type of design, you're better off going to like the printing area department of like a Office Depot or Staples or something like that, and they'll make you a stamp. Usually it's the polymer, the clear stamp type things. Tsukaneko, the makers of a lot of great products out there that I still use to this day. Looks Looks like a colored pencil piece right here. See, these are the types of stamping things you'd see that, this kind of this narrative going on with kind of funny little kind of dialogue-y types of compositions back in the day. A lot of people that were into stamping in these earlier days came from mail art. So the mail artisans, they would do envelopes in all kinds of different ways, and rubber stamping was a great way to do that. Yes, Pigs Can Fly. I don't know anything about them, but I would I would get their or some stamp by them would always stand out to me like it's Stamp Barbara. I wasn't looking for their stuff either. Just I would, the stuff that I would grab off the shelf. It's like, oh, okay, there's another Yes Pigs Can Fly stamp. So I don't know. I had a few of those stamp storage cabinets like that for all the wood-mounted stamps back in the day. That's what everyone used. Even if you bought unmounted, you ended up mounting it onto a wood-mounted block, so people would buy their own cushion, double-stick cushion, and things of that sort. And make mount their own stamps. Probably hand index on the cover. Here's some little the stamping buzz talking about people doing whatever with their stamps. Look at this Fisker's advertising in Rubberstampmadness back in the day. So it really kind of turned more into rubber stamp specialty manufacturers advertising in magazines like this, but there weren't a lot of accessories back in those days. So look at this Dharma Trading Company. I got stuff from them. I got these inks from them. I'm surprised that they're advertising in here. That's interesting to me, because I just found them on the internet when I was looking around for certain types of metallic inks not too long ago, a couple years ago or something like that. Hero Art, Sonoma Stamp Company, Rubber Still Skin. I always love the names of all these rubber stamp stores and manufacturers. Yeah. Visual Image Printery. They were really cool. Stamp Company used to have this gigantic booth at all the different conventions that we went to. Real super professional looking booth. Everything rolled in on these big old display units and whatnot. G-Rated, I remember them. Murrieta, California, not too far from where I am now. The Stamper's Art, the Guru of Rubber, cover artist Gail Medberry of Louisville, Kentucky. So she's the one that did that. It was like a pretty good workstation right there back in the day, stamping area. When we were using all wood-mounted stamps, stamp rooms or whatever, your offices or wherever, they had a different look because of the storage that was required for, so many wood-mounted stamps. I knew some people, I don't know. Some people I'm sure had many more than that, but it wasn't uncommon to hear people with 5,000 wood-mounted stamps, and even if it was the smallest one, you can imagine how much space those ones must have taken, So Hero Arts, always loved this company, one of the best companies out there, really from the very early days, one of the big, 5 companies or so, and I heard still owned by the same owner, the original owners, which is, one of the reasons for such great consistency and whatnot. The first company that I knew of that used labels on their wood-mounted stamps, okay? And that's what I use, for my wood, stamps. I just didn't do full color like they did. I don't know if they did full color early on, but what a great look those labels had back in the day. Still, I don't know. I mean, I still make wood-mounted stamps too for those that want them in certain designs of mine. Rubber Baby Buggy bumpers. Remember the rubber pit or whatnot? What they used to call that. Diva, American Art Stamp. See, wood grab bag special. Okay, So one grab bag at $17, and you get an additional bag for $11, you know, $10.99. So that's for people who were making their own, mounting up their own stamps. Oh, and that's by American Art Stamp right there in Torrance. So known them for quite some time. Turn your art into stamps, you know. Mount Rubbermore. Paper Post. She was one of the artists for a Stamp of the Hand company. Then she opened her own retail store, but she did all the kind of those eraser carved looking designs from a Stamp of the Hand company. Sunan Douglas. Look at this. A charming looking piece right here. This must be the Easter spring issue for Rubberstampmadness. Okay, yeah, you can see like little eggs and, you know, different types of advertisements and whatnot. Not always. You know, Stampscapes. I mean, I could do a winter type of scene for their, you know, their holidays issue or something like that. But Las Vegas Art Stamps. I remember when they opened up, probably maybe the second store out there in Las Vegas. Stamp Oasis, of course, was the first one out there in Las Vegas, and they would hold a couple different conventions. I don't know, it seemed to migrate from hotel to hotel every year, but rubber stamp stores around the nation, or I don't know if it goes out of the country. There might be some in Canada. I don't see Canada in here at this point in time, but Maine, always loved traveling out to Maine. Your Maine Stamper right there. Oh, here we go, right here. Yeah, actually, there was a lot of movement at the time. Look at there was a lot of stores in Maine right here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 stores just in Maine. I don't know if that was all of them at the time, but Connecticut was always a big stamping area. I don't know. A lot of states were, you know, really big on stamping at the time. I once did this circuit. I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4. It might have been more. Like 4 retail stores would get together and have this event where you, like 4 or 5 of us teachers, you know, would go from store to store each day. You know, you'd travel, I don't know, whatever, 70, 80 miles or something like that, and you'd be teaching at a different store. Embossed Easter Eggs by Maria Lutz. Embossing Easter eggs, colored, you know, there's a heat gun right there, so stamping on there, embossing ink, and you got embossed Easter eggs. What a great idea. Wouldn't that be great in metallics or something like that? I don't know. I guess you got to be careful about overcooking your hard-boiled eggs or whatnot. Ampersand Press. Huh. I've worked with Ampersand Art. They were the makers for Stamp Board. Not related at all. Okay. Rubber Soul. New book. Oh, that was the book by Sandra Posey. Stamp of the Hand. Touche rubber stamps. This is a very rambling style of show and tell. Okay, I know that. But I'm just kind of flipping through, like I said. I have no idea what to expect in here, going from page to page. Marvy's heat tools. These types of things like this, these heat guns, were kind of around for the hobby market. I think I've mentioned in past show and tells, where typically they'd be used, I don't know, for other things maybe, but hobbyists that made those RC, radio control gliders and stuff, would put this thing called monocoat on the wings. It was like this plastic that you wrap around and kind of tack it down with a little iron. Then you hit it with the heat gun and it shrinks it all up to a really tight fit for their kind of skeletal, you know, wooden structures for their gliders. Because I know that because my brother used a heat gun for that. Curator of Memories, right here. I'm trying to see the stamping done on there. They might have done these faux postage pieces. I'm not quite sure. Quite a journal right here. I don't know if these are stamped or not. I'm guessing they must have been. No, this wouldn't have been stamped. But kind of doing all these little embellishments like this around. This is quite a project right here. Oh, here's some more dealers. International, too, so... I don't see any international dealers on this one. Boy, there's a lot of stores at this point in time in Florida. This entire page right here. Recognize a lot of the stores that carried our stamps. Treasure Clay in Clearwater. Treasure K in Clearwater. I'd rather be stamping. I think they carried our stuff. Stamp Cabanas always did. I don't know, several of them there. There were never, for the number of stamp manufacturers in California, there were never a ton of stores in California relative to the amount of, to the population and number of stampers in California. But, just in general, it didn't seem like there was that many. There were so many conventions going on in the main areas of California, Southern California, you go inland, and Sacramento and whatnot, and Riverside, a lot around L.A. County. So I don't know, maybe that's, and probably the rents were just so high. I mean, there were, there were a decent number of stores, but I'm talking about relative to the population. Canada, Bunny Day. Is there more of that? I don't know, maybe it goes on to another one. There were a lot more stores in Canada. But yeah. Miss all those stores, the retail stores, the kind of the front lines of the community industry in general, where the stores, where people can get together and take workshops and have stamp club. They often hosted the stamp clubs and whatnot. Mostly animals, always fantastic. Super beautifully constructed stamps with this big 1-inch mount, and I think they double labeled their labels. They put a label down and put this other label around the entire thing. And it made for a super heavy but beautifully crafted printing tool. 100 Proof Press, one of my favorite companies of all time. They're still out there. I think they've changed owners twice, probably since this time here. Stamp Cabana, right here. If you're into scenic stamping, you'd probably really like that. This guy was a really good artist because he was an ex-architect, okay? And so if you're an architect, you really have to know your perspective and everything like that. And he was really good about this. Someone was talking about kind of that paper towel type of stamped art. He used a Letraset airbrush right here. He might have had an airbrush itself, but that was probably using the Letraset pen, kind of like those Copic pens, and they have that airbrush attachment thing that you can use, and it presses compressed air onto it, and it comes out like that. But yeah, they had several stores out there in Florida, in different cities, and I taught at 2 of their stores, either once or twice. I'm not quite sure. I think just once. I think at one of the stores, I don't know if any of you went to the Stamp Cabana. I think it was in the Orlando one or something like that. I seem to recall walking up like a spiral staircase in the store to get to their workshop area. Kind of funny little theme here. Rubber is a girl's best friend, so kind of a theme in here. They put boating fishermen in there. Stampscapes. This is a pretty big publication right here. I think it was their second size. Here's some columns by Stampscapes right here, used in this scene. See, there was a lot of scenes. Well, Rubberstampmadness has always been kind of a champion for, kind of scenic stamping. I don't know. These might not be considered like scenic stamping. I mean, it's a scene and whatnot, but I don't know. You used to see a lot more of this type of, general types of compositions, okay? But these days it's more kind of like isolated images and cutouts and more of kind of a flatter space, which looks great, But you used to see more of these types of things where, more of the frame is it's kind of like a window into a different world type of a visual. All right, Stampin' Up here. Holly Pond Hill, Rubbermonger, Posh Impressions. I just shared with someone the D. Grunig's video. I don't know if it was on beginning stamping or what, but it was just kind of basics of coloring and blending colors onto stamps before making your impressions. So it's on YouTube. A couple of her videos are on there, but one of them has been put up by Warren Grunig. So check it out if you have a chance, and you can see kind of the person who kind of wrote the book on dye-based inks on glossy paper for, you know, really dramatic and bold types of statements. And I don't know, it's on there. So check it out if you have a chance. The Moon Rose art stamps. I have one of their pieces, and it's this reclining lady, and someone really wanted that, you know what I mean? And so I looked a couple years ago, and I just could not find that stamp. And I think the Moon Rose might have still been in business too, but maybe they didn't make that stamp, or it wasn't on their website or something like that. But I don't know. I've used that stamp a lot over the years. Sukaneko stencil palette for paper. Look at this one right here. Attention illustrators. Why manufacturer make big art stamp profit without the hassles? I don't know what that means. You supply the art. We ship finished stamps. Okay, so some company made stamps. Tape Systems Incorporated. I used to use them for certain double stick cushion. But then, I don't know, they sent me a bad one time, and it's a disaster because these come in like 100-foot rolls or something like that. And the adhesive for all these stamps, you make them all up, and you couldn't peel that adhesive, the cushion off the wood, but the rubber from cushion just peeled right off, you know. I don't know, I stopped using them. I don't know. That was my experience with them. Other people might have had a different experience. Rubber Soul in Paulsbo. I taught at that store out in Washington at a couple of their different stores. Rubberama. We used to do the San Jose show every year, twice a year, and then we started doing it once a year. But that was always one of my favorite shows to do. Always loved that kind of downtown San Jose area in general. United We Stamp. We are famous, glamorous artists. The Art Association. Stamp clubs can provide the perfect support group. Always liked being in, going to the Huntington Beach Stamp Club. I got super busy at one time. I stopped going to them at one point in time, or sometime, I don't know. But what a great group. I still see them at the Carson Convention. The Peddler's Pack in Beaverton, Oregon, taught there. And I don't know if they're still around or not. They were pretty recently, but I'm not sure. Yeah. Stamp Away USA. You might know that convention right there if you're in the Ohio area. Even if you weren't in the Ohio area. This is one thing that occurred to me. When we were at the Carson Convention, you'd see, when that was like the convention in the world, you get international people flying in. There were people from Japan and Australia going to the Carson, California convention, okay? But if you're in the Midwest, it wasn't uncommon for someone to drive to Cincinnati area, and go to that show. They just said, yeah, it took us about 11 hours, to drive down there. People were driving from everywhere, Michigan, whatever, Canada. I think Canada, to go to this show. Coming up from the south to everywhere, okay? Descending upon Stamp Away. I always thought that was one of the better rubber stamp kind of events, okay? It's because things would start going on, like workshops on Thursday, and there'd be demonstrations at the store, over at, the coordinating store for the show. But then there would be workshops on Thursday, maybe all day, I'm not sure. Friday, and then there'd be a Friday night preview night, kind of like a party, so people would dress up at that at the show for, I don't know, it was like open for like 4 hours or something like that. And then the show was only one day though, one full day, and that was Saturday, and that was always kind of awesome. And then Connie would always put together this kind of party or whatever, get together at her house for all the vendors if they wanted to come over on Saturday night after everyone took down and all that type of stuff. So, and I don't know, I did different things out there in Cincinnati. We'd go to Cincinnati Red baseball games and whatnot, and I don't know, Museum of Natural History, stuff like that on Sundays sometimes. Haveman Hardware right here in Michigan, they made a bunch of lighthouses. They had a kind of a lighthouse line of stamps, but they also carried Stampscape stamps. I always kind of thought, oh, what, you'd usually get an inquiry from stores, and it would be like, Rubber, Soul, you know what I mean, or something like. But you get a Haveman Hardware. Well, I think they owned a hardware store, and the wife did stamping, and pretty soon, their stamping area, she wanted to sell stamps, and it just kind of expanded and expanded. And then she started selling stamps. Look at this right here. Touch It Color Change Products. Does this still work after, what was it, 1997? Let's see if this reacts right here to my hand. I don't know. Does anyone want to make a bet? I'm betting that works. I don't know. I don't know, it's a chemical reaction though, isn't it, to heat? It did! Yeah, you can see it there. Can you see it? My hand. My hand's not that warm right now. It's a little bit cool out today. And it disappeared, so. What would you, to use Touch It living paper to beam life to your stamp creations. I think they meant to bring life to your stamp creations. Hidden image designs make your images appear and disappear, huh? Order our sample kit and discover how you can do magic and more. I'm guessing that there's some kind of ink that you would stamp on here. And then when you add that heat to it, it would appear. I don't know of any stampers that would use this, but wouldn't it be cool for if you're stamping something out for a kid, right? And then you send it to them and you say, hey, put your hand down there and it'll do whatever. Or you can do a little riddle or something like that or whatnot. And then, you know what I mean? It would make it real interactive, and that's really great stuff for kids. Stamps happen. Okay. Boy. If these are the full-size designs, I mean, this is not one stamp right here, but there must have been, like this must have been a stamp right here. The roses are probably different. This is a really amazing piece right here. Looks like watercolor. Okay, Inner Realms and Rubber Spaces. Pretty cool looking backgrounds and stuff. Let me see if I can get in here. Look at that piece right there. That's my kind of scene right there. I really love it. I have no idea what's going on. The people that submitted these all kind of do a little write-up and stuff. I'm not going to read those, though. But they're cool, that's for sure. Okay, Art Gone Wild, you know him, probably. The biggest booth, if you see them at any show. Well, it's kind of a compilation of the composite or collection of several different Companies, Personal Stamp Exchange, Ranger Industries, you know them by, like Distress Inks and whatnot. I don't know if people know it's Ranger. They think it's Tim Holtz, but uh, Ranger makes a lot of those products right there. Um, Different types of scenes and whatnot. It's a good Janet Olson. I recognize the name. She's got a great piece in here. I didn't even see it right there. That's another Stampscapes design that's put out by a Stamp the Hand company there. That little stand there. Make your stamps do more. Talking about shrink plastic, poly-shrink jewelry techniques. A lot of people used to use shrink plastic with stamps. I don't know, are people still doing that? There was kind of a movement to do that. Museum of Modern Rubber always loved their stuff. Zetiology, fantastic company. Stamping on clothes, that's pretty cool. Magenta had a rubber stamp like fashion show one time. I was like, wow, you know. I always see these things like um, rubber stamp fashion shows or the like a gallery, art gallery. You know, like San Francisco used to put on these art um, shows featuring rubber stamp art. Look at the Stamp Palace right here. Look at it's in a mall, Valencia Town Center Mall right there. You know, that must have been really expensive right there. Look at that facade, like a regular stamp, a regular mall store. Like, you don't see that anymore. Like a big old rubber stamp store in like a probably an expensive mall. I'm not talking about strip mall. I'm talking about, like indoor mall. Rubber Stamp Roundup is coming to Las Vegas. That was the. I did a couple, I don't know, 2 or 3 conventions out there in Las Vegas. You know, for a lot of manufacturers, if they heard someplace that they would just like to kind of go to anyway, and Vegas was, didn't hurt, it was there. You get a lot of vendors going out there. It's like, okay, we're going to go do the show, but then, you get to have like a little Vegas vacation at the same time. That's why a lot of, there was a convention in Anchorage, I think. I don't know if it was in Anchorage, but it was in Alaska. And you know what I mean? There's stampers up there in Alaska, and still, but just relative, to the amount of the population up there, you're not going to have a whole lot and you get a lot of manufacturers shipping all their stuff out there to do a show in Alaska. But what a place to have it! Look at these vivid pads right here. Those were some of the first raised dye-based ink pads, and again, it's by ClearSnap. But big old advertisement by ClearSnap here with the petals and the metallic pigment inks and one of the rollographs. Just a really fantastic, innovative company that I'm really sad aren't around any longer. Hippoheart taught at their store before. They were also a manufacturer of stamps. That was in San Mateo, California. Really enjoyed my trip there and teaching classes. Lee from Limited Edition Rubber Stamps took my class there, and she reminded me of that years later. I was like, oh yeah. She goes, yeah, I was sitting right next to you. And that's before she had started limited edition stamps. I don't know what she was doing. I think she was probably teaching at Hippoheart or something like that at the time. She might have been an instructor. Hot Potatoes. Mary? I think her name was Mary. I think she used to be on the Carol Duvall show a lot. But I'd see her at the different conventions, and I think I remember her at the Queen Mary show and the Carson shows early on. I don't know, she might have got really busy because I didn't really see her at the conventions anymore. It looks like she's taken out this like 3 different page, third of the page ad You know, like that. It makes for kind of a pretty effective um, advertising scheme in this magazine right here. Make an Impression and Issaquah. That was a really fantastic store. I taught at their store once, I think. Yeah. And they were also manufacturers of stamps, I believe, too. Stampers Warehouse in San Ramon. They carried Stampscapes for many years. I don't know if I ever visited their store. I might have once. Circus Stamps. I used to make my rubber back in the day. Ornamentum, non sequitur stamps. Darcy's Country Folk. We were always in the same wing out in the Carson Stamp Convention, and they had this gigantic room. It was kind of separated all to themselves. They drew so many people at this booth, and we were kind of in this like separate wing off to the side. So they were kind of like an anchor store. So Kathy said, well, okay, I tell you what, if you move to this other wing, we'll give you this entire room. So they had like their own store in there, and that's the same thing with Printworks. Printworks was a big draw at those different shows, and you know, people would rush in. You know, they'd have like 20 people in line or something like that. Darcy's Country Folk too. Their demonstrations were insane. Some of them would be like these big old, like wooden cutouts and things like that. And that would be I think it was a free demonstration, you know, making these big projects and whatnot. And and Printworks would have like this sale going on, so people would rush over, and you'd see like 20 people in line. But they had this gigantic like pit area for their booth. Those were the days there. And Stampscapes, you know, we're like a really small company, so, you know, but we were in that different wing with those two companies. Good memories. Curtis Ueda, I've done a video of his catalog. Rest in peace, Curtis. Look at this, Cruise to Alaska right here. Let's see. Yeah, Stampadoodle. Stampadoodle carried our stamps. They asked me if I wanted to be an instructor there. I've mentioned before in previous videos. I didn't have the time to, you know, be gone for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, you know. So I couldn't take them up on being an instructor on the trips. And I remember I saw a photograph of them. There was a group photo. It was like, I would have really loved to have been able to do that, but couldn't get away for that long, so just never did it. It looks like a Fabergé egg here or something like that. Pretty cool. Look at this. See, here's, to do this type of project right here, you know, back in those days, you used to have to read magazines like this, okay? So this starts on the instructions for doing this egg. You get here, without really additional little kind of visuals, you know what I mean? So this is how, you know, a lot of us had to learn how to do stuff back in those days. These days, you know, something like this, if they did it in a video format, like on YouTube, you know, it'd be probably a little bit easier to follow along with and whatnot, you know, because we've lost the ability to read an instruction and do it. I'm just joking. But I used to do written descriptions of like how to use the tonal applicator and stuff like this, and it would be like, oh, you know, I don't know, 1,000 words or something like this. But on a YouTube video, I can show you in you know, like 10 seconds, you know, and much more effectively at that. So RSM back issues, Bizarro, you know, I miss these different types of companies like that had kind of these really cool, funky, different types of designs like that. A lot of it was old copyright-free clip art and whatnot, 19th century engravings, 20th century engravings. I knew this. Yeah, see this right here. Tri-level, okay. Vendors exhibited their wares on 3 decks of the Queen Mary. This is the most interesting. Yeah, there's people getting onto the Queen Mary right here, okay. And it's a ship. And this center area was used for, like, I don't know, different conventions and stuff like that, you know. It's a non-sailing ship, you know, but there wasn't a ton of space on each level, okay? But, and then there was this escalator here. But this place in here got so crowded that they had to regulate the people getting into the ship, and some people were waiting out in this line. And this is the covered area I can see with this awning or whatever. But some people are out in the hot sun. Some people waited like 2 hours to get into the show because it got so full in here. I got a little bit claustrophobic at one point in time. But there were so many people in here that the fire marshal happened to show up and check it out. And it was like, whoa, whoa, you know, we gotta lock it down. And they had to let, like, I don't know, as soon as 100 people came out, then they let another 20 people go in. And then when 20 people came out, they let another 20 people in. You know, and it went like that. So it was pretty crazy. But a convention was never so crowded as the first Queen Mary show. It looks like someone took photos before the show was open. Probably, you know, so there was a Rubberstampmadness booth here. And probably whoever was working that booth took these photos before it was open. And this is probably the line to get in, but you're not seeing the, you know, probably quarter mile of people, you know, besides that. People used to get these shows really early. You know, for a show to open up at 9 o'clock, for the regular show, I don't know, you might get there at 7 o'clock and there might be a line of 200 people already. It was crazy. All right, so anyway, hope you enjoyed this little flip through. I didn't see an ad from me, though. I don't know, did I pass it up or what? I must have advertised in here. I advertised in all the Rubberstamp madnesses. Let me see here. Stamp. There's everyone's names here. Start with Stamp. Let me see. Stamp. It. Stamp Keepers. Me? I don't know. Do I not have a advertising in here? I don't know. I picked out a magazine or one of the issues without an ad from me. It's either that or I did the ad so bad it didn't capture my attention at all or something like that. Yeah, Advertiser's Index. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I know, I thought I took out ads in all these magazines. Anyway, alright, so anyways, a super meandering, rambling show and tell of the Rubberstamp Madness 1997 spring issue. It was the March-April, but I believe these ones came out before that, like in February or something of that sort. I'm not sure. But cool, one little walkthrough if you've bared with me and kind of lasted up until this time. Thanks for watching, and thanks as always for tuning into the channel.